Good morning, everybody, and welcome. And this meeting will now come to order of the Local Agency Formation Commission in San Diego. And can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Jacob,
Here.
Commissioner Vanderlyn,
Present.
Commissioner Kersey,
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Here.
Commissioner Willis, Commissioner Willis is absent.
Here.
Oh, here, okay. Commissioner Salas,
Here.
Commissioner Wells,
Here.
Commissioner Desmond,
Here.
Commissioner McNamara, is absent. Commissioner Lump,
Here.
Commissioner Mathis.
Here.
We have a virtual quorum by the governor's order.
Thank you. Anybody have a flag?
Chair, there's a flag in our office or where me and Erica are, so we can have Carlos attend to it, and then Do has one up on the screen right now.
All right. Barry, you were first online. Would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today, please?
Of course I would. I've got a repeat on everything that's saying verbally. It's doubling it's saying it twice. So anyway, I will go ahead and lead. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
The United States of America.
States of America.
United States of America,
For which it stands,
to the republic for which it stands,
God,
Under God.
indivisible,
one nation under God,
Liberty.
indivisible, liberty and justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Oh, that was great. After that, we ought to sing.
Are you leading?
No, no. Keen, do we have a review of the agenda? Any changes?
Thank you, Chair. Keith Simons, your executive officer. So no changes on the agenda itself, but I did want to just read a disclaimer, if you will, that Commission Counsel Holly Watley helped write for us, and it's really directed for the members of the public who may be watching us. And as Du mentioned, we are also being live broadcast on YouTube. And just as a reminder, if you're not speaking, if you go ahead and hit mute on your computer or your iPad, we might be able to reduce any of the feedback that Commissioner Willis said. That said, Commission, on March 17th, 2020, California Governor Gavin Newsom issued Executive Order number 2920 relating to the convening of public meetings in the state of California in response to COVID-19. The executive order outlined requirements for public meetings to take place by telephone and/or electronically without the need for public or members of the legislative body to meet in person. In response, San Diego LAFCO will continue to serve the general public and the local agencies it oversees, and this includes holding regular meetings of the commission. These meetings are necessary to perform essential governmental functions, and while in-person participation will be prohibited, members of the public are able to provide comments through teleconference and/or by e-comments during the meeting. Now, commissioners are participating in today's meeting for the most part through video conference and will be able to hear and view public comments as well as to ask questions of staff. For each agenda item called by the chair, staff will provide a brief verbal report followed by the commission clerk addressing whether there are any registered speakers. If there are registered speakers, the commission clerk will announce the name of all the speakers in the queue and then individually invite each to provide comments to the commission. After the last registered speaker, we will then also check our email ensure that if anyone has provided comment during the item itself, we will also address those comments as part of the public record. And for the public watching, instructions on how to participate in today's meeting has been provided both on the agenda itself and at the LAFCO website. Any members of the public who have questions, please consult these resources. Thank you. So Chair, that was our disclaimer. I have no changes to the agenda itself. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to public comment. Are there any members of the public that wish to address the commission on anything other than what is specifically listed on our agenda?
Commissioner Clark, do we have any registered speakers for general public comment?
Executive Officer, none, no registered speakers were received.
Thank you, Tammy. And Erica, any email comments?
No email comments for public comment.
Thank you. And just one, just one qualification. There's about a 10-second delay on our live broadcast. So Chair, as we go through the public comments, your staff will pause just a bit to ensure that if any late email comments come in, we can address them. But I think we have addressed, there are no public comments and we can proceed.
Thank you. Then we'll proceed with the consent items. Commissioners, any items you wish to pull off the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda. Desmond?
Vanderline, second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, and we need a roll call vote.
Commissioner Jacob,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderline,
Yes.
Commissioner Kersey,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Willis, must be a delay.
Barry, unmute yourself.
I think he probably did.
He muted. I still see him muted.
Yeah.
I'll come back. Commissioner Salas,
There we go. This is Commissioner Willis. Aye.
Commissioner Salas. Must have lost her. Commissioner Wells,
Yes.
Commissioner Desmond.
Yes.
Is Commissioner Salas on the line or?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
I've been having problems connecting, so
8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes 8-0.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed to item 6A, and we'll first have a staff report. This is a public hearing, so we'll proceed under our public hearing procedures. Keen?
Thank you, Chair. So as mentioned, 6A is a public hearing, and it is for the commission to consider a handful of items that have been brought forward to the commission today from the San Diego County Water Authority, and done so, right, in response to a couple of recent detachment proposals that have been filed with LAFCO from Fallbrook Public Utility District, as well as Rainbow Municipal Water District. And these items before the commission really get divided into two distinct topics or categories. The very first topic, commission, is a set of applications that the Water Authority has filed with LAFCO seeking your approval today to invoke a very unique and limited allowance that is available just to the Water Authority and a few other special districts in California, and that is to apply alternate conducting authority proceedings for both the Fallbrook and Rainbow detachment proposals. Again, the applications from the Water Authority are premised on this unique out, if you will, that's available to the Water Authority, that they can come forward and ask the commission approval to enact conducting authority proceedings that would skip our general and typical protest proceedings. And the net effect, commission, is if you were to approve these applications by the Water Authority, then confirmation of the proceedings would be directly subject to registered voters in an election, right? We would not be holding a protest hearing. We would jump directly to an election of registered voters. Now, as we detail in the staff report, the approval process for LAFCO in this instance is a bit more limited than what you typically have discretion. This is really about checking criteria. And as we provide in our staff report, we believe that the criteria to approve these applications has been met. And that, of course, leads us to not only approving the applications, but making sure we approve them both for the separately filed Fallbrook proposal as well as the Rainbow proposal. So that is the first topic before the commission. The second topic is relatable, and it involves requests that the Water Authority is advancing at this time that certainly speak to the uniqueness of both the moment and the detachment proposals themselves. The first request, okay, commission, is that the Water Authority would like you to come to a full stop and suspend all processing of the two detachment proposals from Fallbrook and Rainbow at this time, and due to the COVID-19 emergency. And if you take a look at your agenda packet, we have a letter or letters from the Water Authority that detail the reasons for the request. Again, a request to stop all processing of the detachment proposals. We also have a request, which is the Water Authority is making it known now that should this commission see fit down the line to approve either the detachment proposal from Fallbrook and or Rainbow, that they would like you to exercise your authority and condition it on an expanded vote of registered voters. So again, under the baseline, should you eventually approve these detachment proposals, the baseline is the registered voters who would be involved in an election would just be from Fallbrook and Rainbow. What the Water Authority is asking of you now, as you go forward, to be aware, is that they would like you to expand that to include all registered voters within the 24 member agencies that make up the Water Authority, which is not a countywide vote, but it comes pretty close to being a countywide vote. Now, in both instances, staff is actually recommending you take no action today. We don't believe you have the authority, certainly under normal LAFCO law, to suspend the processing of proposals without Fallbrook or Rainbow consenting. And as I think we'll hear shortly, neither of these agencies are consenting to a stop of the processing of their applications. And we also don't believe the governor's orders have provided LAFCOs in particular any new powers with respect to stopping work on proposals. With respect to the idea of conditioning the detachments on an expanded vote, certainly that would be a big ask of the commission. And not to say it's not merited, but I could certainly offer up right now, Chair and the commission, that it would be premature for staff to offer anything of substance on the topic, given we are still in the administrative review of both proposals. And I'm guessing, commission, we will have other requests of conditions by the Water Authority and or other interested parties as we go through our review. And what I would suggest is when we bring you the full proposals for actual decision-making, the detachments, we holistically look at the question that the Water Authority has raised in this matter today. That said, these are requests of the commission, not staff. Your input and discussion certainly can help manage expectations and provide some feedback to staff going forward. I do know we have some registered speakers on this item. Last thing I will say as part of my presentation, Chair, is that as part of your agenda packet, not only do you have the Water Authority's letter and associated resolution from their board, We do have a joint letter from Fallbrook and Rainbow that was missing an attachment that we included on Friday and posted online, and I can speak, or Jack or Tom Kennedy can speak to the contents of that missing attachment. But nevertheless, at this point, Chair, I think unless there's any initial questions of staff, I would suggest we proceed in opening the hearing and check in with the commission clerk on our registered speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask if any of the commissioners have any initial questions or clarification at this time.
Yes, I would like to clarify. This is Commissioner Willis. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So in the County Water Authority Act, is it allowed to have a county-wide vote like that?
Commissioner Willis, if I understood the question, you're asking, does the Principal Act for the Water Authority allow for an expanded vote of the entire member agencies? I will defer to the Water Authority for their own opinion, but I think it's fair to say from our own eyes, it is silent on that topic.
Okay.
And if Commission Counsel Holly Watley wanted to add anything, I do see she's available.
Yes, the standard procedure under the Principal Act is that the vote is held in the detachment area territory.
Right.
But as Keene said, it's silent as to whether it could be expanded.
So just as a follow-up, so at some point in time, if we are in a position to make a decision on this, does that mean, since the law is silent, that we would have the ability to make that determination if we wanted to?
We haven't yet completed the legal analysis on what the options would be given the language of the Principal Act. So that is definitely something we're going to review and be able to advise you when it comes forward. As Keene said, with the entire package, that will be a piece that we address.
Thank you. I think that would be very important for the commission to know. Are there any other questions or clarification from commissioners at this point?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioner Vanderlaan. Question for Keene. Would we be in some way circumventing LAFCO process if we decided to go to a vote regardless of what the outcome of our LAFCO decision would be?
Well, by nature of making it a condition, I don't know if I'd use the word circumvent, but you are deviating from the path that LAFCO law contemplates. And, you know, I'm sure as we'll discuss a bit today, and then certainly in future meetings, the commission will have to determine for its own benefit whether these particular set of circumstances, not just on this particular item, but on all terms and conditions, and there are certainly other terms and conditions in play here, merit the commission exercising discretion and prescribing.
And just a caution for the commission and for the staff. It seems to me that this is going to generate a lot of issues, legal and otherwise. And so I'm hoping that the commission and staff does not get bogged down in legal stuff, lawsuits and all of that, and political pressure. So I would rely upon you, Keene, to let us know if you're getting excessive pressure as this thing moves down the line, and allow the commission to come in and be the buffer for staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, clarification? Seeing none, then I will officially open the public hearing. And at this time, invite public comments. Bless you, whoever it was.
Sorry. I coughed in my elbow.
So,
Okay, good.
So
Commission Clerk, can you advise the chair of who our registered speakers are on this item?
I think before, Keene, you get to that, my understanding is to proceed in an orderly fashion, we would first have representatives from the San Diego County Water Authority. Secondly, representatives from Fallbrook, and then representatives from Rainbow, and then other interested parties in the general public. And then after that, we'll go back to the commission for discussion and then consideration of the staff recommendation. So just so everybody knows, that would be how we'll proceed on this. So first, we'll hear from the County Water Authority folks.
Good morning, Chair Jacob. This is Christina Lawson. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear.
Great. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, Executive Officer Simons. My name is Christina Lawson. I'm a partner with the Hanson Bridget Law Firm, and I'm outside counsel to the San Diego County Water Authority in connection with this matter. The Water Authority's General Counsel, Mark Haddam, is also participating in the video conference and will be available for questions if you have any. As noted by Executive Officer Simons during his staff report, in connection with the applications recently submitted by Fallbrook and Rainbow, the Water Authority has requested LAFCO to determine the Water Authority is not a district or special district for purposes of Part 4 of the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Local Government Reorganization Act of 2000. We appreciate staff's thorough and thoughtful review of this request, particularly during this unusually impacted time. As we indicated in our brief written correspondence of last Thursday, we are in full agreement with staff's recommendation. We note that the record does not include any objection to the Water Authority's application to be exempted from standard conducting authority proceedings, and there therefore appears to be consensus among the affected parties that is consistent with the staff recommendation. If there are any specific questions, either Mark or I would be happy to address them. Thank you for your consideration of this very important matter.
Thank you. I'm sure if there's questions by commissioners that they will be asking them. We'll go to the next speaker, please.
Oh, hello, this is Mark Haddam, General Counsel with the County Water Authority. I will, can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yes.
Just a follow, because there were a couple questions on the voting and that as to the Water Authority. We concur with staff's position that the issue is not ripe right at the moment. I think we said in our initial letter that we were just alerting the commission that the Water Authority Board had requested this to be considered when the time was right. It's not yet. This would be something that if the commission were to decide to even proceed with detachment, which it may not do, then at that point, conditions would be considered. This would be one of the possible conditions of many, as Mr. Simons noted, that might be considered. And so we would suggest that it be brought up, and talked about it at that time. It would require, obviously, a more detailed legal and actual briefing. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers speaking on behalf of the County Water Authority? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed with representatives from the Fallbrook District.
Yes, I'm Charlie Wolk. I'm a director at Fallbrook Public Utility District. I've lived in Fallbrook since 1972, and I've held leadership positions in the following ag organizations: San Diego County Farm Bureau, California Avocado Commission, the Federal Hass Avocado Board, California Food Growers Association, and I've served on the Region 9 Water Quality Control Board. I was first elected to the Fallbrook Public Utility District in the 1980s, and I served there for 14 years, and I have since been elected again in 2018. The rapid increase over the last decade of water costs has had a significant impact on agriculture in our community. When I started farming avocados in the 70s, we paid $75 an acre foot for water. Now it's over $1,600 an acre foot. This increase has made many agriculture operations unsustainable. And Fallbrook has seen water demands drop from over 20,000 acre feet per year to 7,500 acre feet per year. When FPUD was part of the initial formation of the San Diego County Water Authority, it was understood at that time that at some point there may no longer be members who wanted to continue to be part of the County Water Authority. And the legislature provided statutory provisions for that. And these provisions are in the County Water Authority Act. And I believe they should be followed. All we're asking LAFCO now is allow to proceed in accordance with the applicable statutory provisions which are in the current law governing our proposed request to leave the County Water Authority. County Water Authority Act clearly says that Fallbrook ratepayers are the ones who should decide whether we should leave or not. Given the rural and agriculture community and the impact of the water rates, our leaving to have a less expensive source of water is imperative for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is Jack Bebee. I'm the General Manager with the Fallbrook Public Utility District. I thought Mark Adam was quarantined in a castle library, but I guess that's a special Zoom background, so he's got a better background than I do. I want to thank the Commission and LAFCO staff, especially for continuing to serve their key role to ensure efficient government operations, which becomes even more important as we work to recover from this unique event. You have a letter in front of you that's been outlined. I'm going to just briefly highlight some of the items we had in the letter that was part of your board package. The first one that the executive officer noted, we don't support staying the proceedings. LAFCO is, as the executive officer noted, as you can tell from this meeting, they're still fully functioning. If we felt like dialogue, delaying it and having additional dialogue would help us get to a resolution in front of the commission, then we maybe would be more open to that. But we've been working on it for over a year, so this isn't a new thing. We actually delayed it for about 12 months, which is why it took us a while to submit the proposal, because we were trying to work out potentially coming to you with a joint proposal. And so, we don't think that we would get there, and that's the Water Authority indicated that they would only provide additional information as part of the formal LAFCO process. So based on this, we don't believe a further delay is going to result in us getting any closer to agreement. We would be open to more meaningful dialogue with the Water Authority as the process and in parallel as this process continues. But we do believe there would need to be other independent parties involved in the discussion for it to become a more meaningful and progressive dialogue. If there is some sort of working group convened, we'd want to make sure that occurs concurrently with the LAFCO processing. We understand this overall process is a very lengthy process, so we don't want to add steps that are just ultimately an additional delay. In terms of today, so the main item in front of the commission today is whether the Water Authority exempt under Part 4 of the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act. We concur with what's in the staff recommendation that LAFCO can make a determination that Water Authority can be exempt under Part 4 of the Act. Historically, they've been treated as being exempt under both Part 4 and Part 5. So what the Water Authority proposed would essentially just maintain what has been the status quo. The big item, and we understand it's not in front of the commission today, but has a significant impact as we move forward, is that if the commission, LAFCO commission, does determine that the Water Authority is exempt under Part 4 of the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act, instead of the typical protest process under the Act, then the County Water Authority Act would apply. In our letter, we've provided a copy of what that Act, the specific act of that provision says. We do believe should the commission determine that the Water Authority is exempt under Part 4 of the Act, then the commission should follow what the County Water Authority actually requires. So it's pretty clear in what is identified in there if a party determines they want to detach and not create a whole new process that is not called for by the law. We understand the Water Authority may not be happy with the detachment language in its act, but it doesn't mean that they should be able to create or pick and choose what parts they want to follow. When we joined the Water Authority, so we were initial founding member 75 years ago, we agreed at that time based on the rules that would allow us, our ratepayers, the right to leave without getting permission first from the rest of the county. And those rules are still in effect today. So requiring what's essentially a countywide vote would be making up a new process that's not supported by the law. And if LAFCO took this step in our application, we feel it would be illegal, but it would also create a precedence for all future LAFCO applications. And then, the end result for 75 years, Fallbrook residents have helped fund infrastructure throughout San Diego County, even though due to our unique location, we don't use it. And as Director Wolk noted, due to our rural local lifestyle, high per capita water use, as the cost of water has gone up, it's disproportionately created a substantial economic burden on our ratepayers. And our district has significant challenges moving forward, maintaining a very large water system on lower and lower water demands. And so right now, we really can't at the same time continue to build infrastructure for the rest of the county. And the ratepayers of Fallbrook should be allowed to decide, per the County Water Authority Act, what's in their best interest for the future. And we look forward to LAFCO allowing us this opportunity. And I really appreciate the commission hearing this item today. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers that wish to speak on behalf of the Fallbrook Public Utilities District? That's it. We'll go on to Rainbow Municipal Water District.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm Tom Kennedy, General Manager at Rainbow Municipal Water District. I'll be brief. I just wanted to echo Jack's comments as well as Mr. Wolk's comments. I think what we come down to here is a situation to where under normal LAFCO processes, the protest process would follow any commission decision. What the Water Authority is asking you to do today, and we don't dispute that you can do this, is to, instead of use your normal protest process, to instead follow the provisions of the County Water Authority Act. That's provided for in CKH. But the County Water Authority Act specifically says who votes in the election. And so when you want to follow the County Water Authority Act and have the commission make a special determination to follow that act, then we should follow that act. I think that when you look at taking parts of the act that you like and parts of the act that you don't like, and trying to pick and choose which ones you want, isn't really the right way to go about it. Spreading an election out that far and wide would be disadvantageous to our communities because it takes away the power given to them by the legislature. But it also would add an enormous amount of cost to run a vote that wide. And that cost would fall on the shoulders of our ratepayers. So we look forward to the process and we thank you for taking up the matter.
Thank you.
I have a question for Tom.
Go ahead, Barry.
Tom, could you give us an idea of what percentage of your ratepayers are it's ag business?
Right now, our ag sales are about 65% of our total sales. Rainbow's 80 square miles of a very rural area. And so we have a very large system that serves primarily agricultural water. And so this is really important to the only industry we have in Rainbow. We don't have biotech or tourism. We have avocados and nurseries.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay. Any other speakers that wish to speak on behalf of Rainbow?
I'd like to make a couple of comments, if I could, please, if the speakers are done.
Well, Jim, I don't think so. There's public comment now, just general public comment.
Okay, I didn't know anymore. Okay.
Let's find out. Keen, are there other speakers that wish to speak under public comment, just in general?
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Clerk Tammy, do we have any registered speakers that have not spoken yet?
We have Joe Naiman, but I'm not sure if he wishes to speak.
Yeah, available.
This is Joe Naiman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No. I personally, as well as the Fallbrook Bonsall Village News are neutral. I will be asking media questions. I have Keem's cell phone number. I will give him a call after the meeting concludes to ask questions. I will also be calling Ed Joseph CWA to request a phone interview, and I will be speaking with Jack and Tom. So at this point, I do not have any questions. However, I would like to ask, is a CWA officially a special district or a joint powers authority? Because a special district is either an independent special district with directly elected board members, or an independent district whose board members are usually a city council or a county board of supervisors. In terms of the board, the CWA functions more as a joint powers authority. So what is the official legal status of the CWA?
Who wants to take that one? Keen?
Thank you, Chair. The Water Authority is a dependent district, given their directors are appointed and not directly elected.
Okay. Do we have any other public speakers or written comments that need to be read into the record?
Chair, let me check in with Erica to see if we have any email comments.
Hi, good morning, Chair. No live email comments were received for item 6A.
Okay, I just have a quick question then, if the public hearing is closed on this. Who pays for the processing of the application?
This is your executive officer, Chair. So the applicants are responsible for all costs borne in this situation, and that would be, again, two separate proposals, Fallbrook and Rainbow.
If I could just share a few comments, and then I know that Commissioner Desmond wanted to make some comments too. This may on the surface look simple. You know, two water districts, they want to try to save some money, so they want to get out and do the best they can for the ratepayers. But and really digging into this issue, it is much more complicated than that. It's not about just the ratepayers in Fallbrook or in Rainbow. If it were, then we wouldn't have what I think is going to evolve into a very complicated process. I don't think it's going to be easy, and there's going to be some really tough decisions that I think that the commissioners are going to have to be faced. LAFCO's in a really good position as an independent agency to take a look at this issue. And it's one like we've never seen before either. But we have landowners that are involved. We've got ratepayers involved. We even have cities that would be involved. That may surprise some, not just the water districts, but other water districts will have an interest in this, not just Fallbrook and Rainbow. We might even have regional impacts as a result of these two applications. The state, the feds, the law. I mean, we've already heard from our attorney, there's a little bit more digging to do in terms of the vote. Maybe we won't even have to get to the vote. I don't know. But the bottom line is, I believe that this potentially could be a very, very expensive process for these two water districts. And I think there's a couple of things that I think that we as a commission need to do at this point, based on the fact that I don't think it's going to be a simple process. I think it's going to be complicated, since we may well, Keen, have to hire some consultants. So as is normal, and they cost money too. I think our overall, everybody wants to have the least expensive water rates. But we also want to have a reliability in our water that we receive throughout the region. And there's a lot of things that have been going on in San Diego County that has allowed us to be less reliable on the Metropolitan Water District, which has been a good thing. And I know that County Water Authority has been fighting the good fight to make sure that San Diego County is not paying more than their fair share. And that seems to be an issue that goes on and on and on. I would like to see, if possible, having said what I just said, that bring the parties together. Let's see if bringing the parties together, that we can't work out an amiable solution to this, rather than it being what could potentially be a very expensive, a very confrontational process, which I don't think is in the best interest of anybody. So there are the obvious stakeholders in this process, but as I laid out earlier, I think we have a broader range of stakeholders, and maybe even keen looking at some experts, independent experts, to be on a technical committee to be able to analyze this process to assist you in going down the line. So I just think that we need to look at this as something that in the end will be fair and equitable to all that are involved, and it could potentially affect every ratepayer in this entire region, potentially. So, you know, what I'd like to lay out for consideration by the commission is, I think alternative one obviously is the way to go. And I would put this in a motion that the commission approve alternative one, but with 2 additional directions to staff to come back at our next meeting with recommendations for a technical advisory committee. That, I mean, obviously that technical advisory committee would involve representatives from County Water Authority, representatives from Rainbow Public Utilities District, and also the Fallbrook Public Utility District and the Rainbow Municipal Water District. And then, Keen, any others that you think to balance out a technical advisory committee that would make it a workable committee to assist you in the commission, and to come back to the commission that at our next meeting could approve or add to it or whatever else. That would be the first thing, and have reps from all interested parties there. The second would be, and I think this is only fair, to come back with cost estimates for processing this application. I think that, and with the applicants having to pay the cost, I think frankly it's only fair that they have some idea of what these costs are going to be. So basically that would be what I would lay out as a suggested motion, alternative one, a technical advisory committee, and also cost estimates to come back at our next meeting. So if there's a second to that, and then we could discuss that.
This is Mayor Wells. I'm happy to second that.
Thank you. Commissioner Desmond, I knew you wanted to speak on this too.
Yeah, this happens, all of this is happening in my district here, so I'm very attuned to this item here. But I do want to thank you, Diane, for your talk, your points on this. And I agree that the County Water Authority, you know, can require that LAFCO determination go directly to a vote of the people rather than following the typical LAFCO petition hearing proceedings. I don't see any reason to delay their application. There's nothing in the code that really authorizes that delay. And both districts are willing to proceed and work forward. And so I like your idea of the technical advisory committee. And even though I think it's okay that this goes to a vote, it still hasn't, you know, we don't have enough information to determine whether it's a, you know, county-wide vote or a district vote only. I would only like to ask that on the technical advisory committee that we, you know, that staff come back, that it has, you know, criteria, a purpose, you know, as you mentioned, the membership, who's going to be on there, the goals and a timeline, because I know this is costly, is going to be a costly process. And I'd like to have a timeline on when we want, you know, whatever goals or outcomes to come from this technical advisory group comes together. So I just like that, you know, if it's part of the motion, that they come back with criteria, the purpose, the membership, goals and timelines with deadlines for the technical advisory committee.
Happy to include that in my motion. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that okay with the seconder? Where are you?
All right, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Other comments, discussion by commissioners?
Yes, this is Commissioner Willis. So I've read through this a few times, this County Water Authority Code 4511, and I'm just trying to understand the argument. I don't see we're not making a decision now, but it's hard for me to see an argument for a countywide vote. I've read it through like 3 or 4 times. And so that's my initial thoughts on the matter. I know we're not deciding right now.
Well, and as our attorney said earlier, our attorney is still looking to see if we get to that point. Hopefully this will get resolved before. I mean, that's what my hope would be. But if we get to that point, then we'll know whether we have 1 option or 2 options on that. Commissioner Salas, did you?
Yes, yeah. Since I'm new to LAFCO and really haven't gone through a lot of scenarios like this, there was Jack Bebee, I believe was his name, was talking about actually advocating for not having a countywide vote. And he talked about it being a bad precedent for LAFCO. And so my concern is that, you know, LAFCO is here to make those kinds of decisions. And so why are we discussing either a countywide vote or a vote of, you know, the 2 districts involved within their jurisdictions? Because, you know, we've had several initiatives now, countywide initiatives, relative to planning issues and all of that. And I really don't like to see countywide votes to make decisions that we were appointed to make, because you know, elections can be really warped from one side to another, the issues. And so I just have a hesitation to go down that path. And I'd like to hear from some of the more seasoned commissioners if that's where we're going, or if we think that the technical committee that's being formed is going to come back to us with a resolution to this issue where we make a determination and a decision without having to go to a vote.
Fortunately, we don't have to make a decision on the vote today, and hopefully we won't even get to that point. The idea of the technical advisory committee would be to bring all the parties together with additional independent experts on this subject to make sure that the technical advisory committee is balanced out and could reach an amiable agreement on this particular issue. I mean, that would be my hope. And so we'll see what happens. But it, as I mentioned earlier, it's not as simple as it may look like on the surface. This is a very complicated process and could involve in some way or affect in some way the people and the ratepayers in the city of Chula Vista and other cities. So, and we don't know that right now until we allow Keene and his folks and any consultants that he thinks he needs to come back and really dig in and analyze this issue. We know about water law fights in the past. I mean, if there's one issue that people have fought and died over, it's water. So anyway, enough said on that. And fortunately, appreciate your comments. Unfortunately, we don't have to make a decision on the vote. Hopefully when you get to that, but we'll see. Any other comments?
So with that, Chair Jacobs, I will support your motion.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Vanderlaan. I support your amended motion. I think we're going to need definitely some technical expertise and maybe just as important as separation from staff so that we can get a clearer picture of what's going on from people that are not just outside the commission and the 2 agencies, but even outside of our community.
Will this be a roll call vote?
Yeah. Comments by other commissioners, discussion? Okay, let's have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Vanderlaan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacob,
Yes.
Commissioner Kersey,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie. McKenzie?
Do we lose Joe?
Yeah, he had me muted. So yes.
Commissioner Willis,
Aye.
Commissioner Salas,
Aye.
Commissioner Wells,
Yes.
Commissioner Desmond,
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes 8-0 with the 2 amendments included.
Thank you. We'll move on
Ma-
to item 8B.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
this is Joe, and I think I was muted because I tried to get in during the discussion. Could I get clarification from Jack Bebee on his comment that when they joined, there was something that said that they could leave at any time? I just need clarification as to what he said. Maybe just repeat what he said. If he's still on the line.
I'm here for clarification. I'm talking about the Principal Act. So when we formed the Water Authority, there was a Principal Act. That's the language that you've got handed out. So that's part of the act that governs how the Water Authority operates. And so that act also identifies, in our mind, specifically what happens if you want to leave, which includes just a vote of those trying to leave. I'm just referencing the Formation Act of the Water Authority.
Okay, thank you. I thought it was something else in addition to. Thank you for the clarification.
thank you. Okay, on to item B. Keen?
Thank you,
Well,
Chair. So
I just mentioned, and this is how it should be done. And this is what we're hoping happens on item 6A. So with that, go ahead. Staff report.
very good. Thank you, Chair. So 6B is the final leg, Commission, of your scheduled municipal service review on County Service Area 135 and its 3 active service functions. You have the public safety radio communication function, which is provided through the Sheriff's Department. And then you also have fire protection and emergency medical services that are provided through the County Fire Authority. I mentioned that this is the last leg of the service review. You will recall that back in March, you received draft versions of at least the report for initial feedback, and then also sent staff on its way to circulate a formal public review and comment period, which ran all the way through basically the end of April. We now return to you, Commission, with a final report that is just about identical, there are some changes, but just about identical to the draft that you saw in March, and was accompanied by a relatively detailed staff presentation. And all of the key conclusions remain the same. And if you can turn to, let's see, a couple slides in, one more, I'm sorry, on the recommendations. And just about all of the recommendations, Commission, remain in this document in its final form, with one exception, right? And that exception involves a statement that we had included in the draft that the Commission had some pause over, and you were joined with your pause by other chiefs from fire protection districts in the county. And the statement, which is lined out on the screen, was direction to the Fire Authority to take further steps in syncing up fire prevention activities throughout the unincorporated area and under the common goal of the county's land use authority. While the statement was well intended, we heard from you and some of the affected agencies that the inference was that we were suggesting that there was some deficiency in fire prevention among some of the independent fire protection districts. That was not the intent, but we heard you, and so we've removed that one recommendation. Everything else, Commission, remains the same with respect to those recommendations. And I want to highlight, and if you go to the next screen, there is one headliner recommendation above all of the others, and that is your staff believes that it is time for the Fire Authority to continue its evolution and transition into its own fire protection district. And the specific benefits are up on the screen. And again, we covered these in some detail back in March, but the way staff use it, and again, this is a policy statement that the Commission would be making. You're not actually approving a reorganization, but this is the part where you make statements I think, and your staff believes that it is appropriate to make the statement that reorganizing CSA 135 for purposes of splitting it into two and having this standalone fire protection district, still governed by the county, but nevertheless operating under a different governance model makes sense. And so the recommendation is tied to recommending that, or excuse me, advocating that the county come forward with a proposal. Chair and Commission, what is different about me speaking today versus 60 days ago on this topic, today we have a letter of support that's included in your agenda packet from the county, and in particular the County Fire Authority, committing to working with your staff on this proposal. So if you approve, and there's two specific actions here, if you formally accept and file the final municipal service review, and then you adopt the draft resolution that we've brought to you, making the required determinations, you in effect would be greenlighting the county to come forward with this proposal with the incentive of a fee waiver, and your staff would be tasked with working on this and getting the actual reorganization to you as soon as possible. So I'm going to defer to the staff report for the other details. You have our recommendation identified as alternative action 1. And Chair, I know we do have at least 1 or 2 registered speakers on this item, and I will turn it back to you. Thank you.
Any questions by commissioners?
Yes, this is Barry Willis. Keen, it says it empowers county fire authority to annex city lands. What will be the process that they will use to do that?
So Commissioner Willis, let me answer it by saying the baseline. The baseline right now is, as a CSA, the County Fire Authority cannot directly annex city lands. It has to go through the city council, and I believe a 4/5 vote of the city council has to allow that annexation to even come forward to LAFCO. The difference is if you move it into a fire protection district, the County Fire Authority would be able to directly engage interested landowners, registered voters, and frankly, the city council, if let's say there's 3 in support, but not a 4th, to be able to go forward and discuss an annexation. It still goes through LAFCO, but the ability to initiate is expanded.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions by commissioners?
Yeah, I do, Supervisor Chair Jacob. I just wanted for clarification, Keen, is that I know you took out the line on coordination, but I just want to make sure there still is a coordinated effort there is a coordinated effort for prevention and communications and training, and not to imply that anybody's deficient, but that effort, because we will have this and other districts working together so that they can do that seamlessly. I just want to make sure that's still part of it. And then I have a follow-up, and I see you nodding your head that yes, that's there.
And I'm nodding my head, Commissioner Desmond, because part of the feedback we got from the Fire Chiefs Association was that type of alignment amongst the fire agencies is already underway, and by all accounts is working well.
Okay, good. And I realize it is. I just want to make sure that that's still part of this. And then I think this is already in there. Just wanted, for my own, clarification that the potential of this fire district that we're creating, if it absorbs any other districts for whatever reasons, that the residents within those absorbed potential districts have the opportunity to vote on that annexation, if that, for lack of another term.
Yes, so yes, and an additional yes to a question that underlies yours. So if the new fire authority operating as a fire protection district were to annex City X and LAFCO approved it, we would still go through our protest proceedings, and those protest proceedings would give landowners and registered voters the ability to either stop the proceedings or require an election. And if I can go a little further, Commissioner Desmond, let's start to the actual formation of this new county fire authority, or placing it in a new governance model. That too is subject to protest proceedings. So If we bring you this proposal and you say yes to transition the fire authority from CSA 135 into its own fire protection district, all landowners and registered voters within the existing boundary would get to say yes or no to it.
So then does this go to a vote of the people in November? Is that what you're saying, or?
It would only go to a vote if the protest proceeding generated enough opposition, 25% or more. And so that's something that LAFCO staff and county staff are certainly aware of and working on. But there's a way, there is a check in this process, in all processes as we go down this path.
Okay, and then you gave the example as if this new district wants to take over a part of a city. What if this new district were to look at another existing district in the unincorporated area, and whatever, whatever the circumstances was about potentially to absorb that district, that the people within the absorbed district, I know you mentioned cities, but I just want to make sure districts as well would also have the opportunity to vote on whether or not to do that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Keen, just for clarification, this is a dependent district with the Board of Supervisors as the governing authority, not an independent district, correct?
Correct, and it will stay dependent.
Right, so that doesn't change. So we're changing the name and one of the powers, and that's basically it.
From the outside, but there are, as we provided in the report, there are benefits to doing this, not only from LAFCO's perspective, but for the fire authority in its evolution as more of a brick and mortar operation, which in 2008 wasn't in place. Today, that brick and mortar operation is in place, and the funding has proven to be stable.
So it's like the county fire authority finally growing up and coming of age.
Very good.
Okay. Any other questions or clarification by commissioners before we open the public hearing? Hearing none, then I'll officially open the public hearing and call on the public. Whoever wants
Tammy, who do we have as registered speakers for this item?
Madam Chair, we have one registered speaker, and that is Tony Meacham of CSA 135.
Thank you. Chief?
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to let me address the commission this meeting.
Oh, there, you're better now. Okay.
All right, I'll start again. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning.
We're losing you.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
that's better.
The Fire Authority stands in strong support of the motion in front of you this morning. We believe this is the natural evolution of the Fire Authority. The county is taking tremendous strides in fire protection starting in 2008. But as we have discussed with LAFCO staff, the activation of latent powers within an existing CSA can be a little cumbersome. And we feel that the move to the Dependent Fire Protection District really is, as the supervisor said, coming of age. I do want to address the comments made by Commissioner Wells and Desmond and remind the LAFCO commissioners that throughout the history of the Fire Authority and continuing forward, that any decision to join the Fire Authority is a joint application of the new, of both parties. So we are very sensitive to the term takeover. There is no takeover. It is a joint application when both governmental entities feel that it is in the best interest of both parties, and specifically, we would have to have a majority of vote of the Board of Supervisors to proceed. I also want to stress that we have a tremendous relationship amongst the fire chiefs in this county. We cooperate every day, and that cooperation continues either in future forms of formal agreements or informal agreements as we do now. And I'm certainly thanking the commission for any, we are in strong support of the item. And I also want to thank LAFCO staff for their work on our MSR. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for all your great work. Any other speakers?
It didn't sound, Tammy, that we had any other registered speakers. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So let me check with Erica for a second. Do we have any email comments?
Thank you, Executive Officer. Yes, we have one email comment. It was submitted by Fire Chief Stephen Abbott from North County Fire Protection District. And he says, "Good morning, LAFCO board members and LAFCO staff. Although I was unable to submit a request prior to the Friday deadline, I would like to indicate my support for item B, the final report on CSA 135 MSR."
Thank you. With that, I'll put a motion on the floor to approve the staff recommendation.
Second from Commissioner Willis.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? It's a good day. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wells,
Yes.
Commissioner Salas,
Yes.
Commissioner Willis,
Aye.
Commissioner Desmond,
Yes.
Commissioner Kersey,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs, Commissioner Vanderlin,
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you. We'll proceed with the next item, which is item 6C. Keen?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to have our analyst and project manager, Linda Heckenkamp, provide the presentation.
Good morning. Thank you, Executive Officer. If we can pull up the presentation, please. Thank you so much. And with that, again, good morning, commissioners and members of the public. This is the sphere of influence updates for the Valley Center region. This update is part of a 5-year study review and draws upon the info included in the MSR. And back to the CSD map that you're on, I am just going to refresh our memories and go through the 3 special districts in the study review. Here we have Valley Center Community Services District. Next slide, please. A little bit of a delay, sorry about that. Valley Center FPD and its district boundary and sphere. Next slide, please. And Valley Center Municipal Water District as well. Next slide, please. With that, staff recommends affirming each sphere with no changes. This accurately reflects the boundaries and service areas at this time. Next slide, please. Further notes have been included in the SOI report, such as resolving the former Gregory Canyon Special Study Area presented on the slide to you, and designating a new special study area consisting of the Meadowwood development site, as well as revisiting the CSD SOI in the anticipated CSA reorganization proposal, and revisiting the FPD SOI if significant service demand changes occur in the greater North County region. And next slide, please. And this was probably one of the shortest presentations I've done so far. This really concludes staff presentation, and we recommend alternative 1, as well as calling on the commission clerk to see if there are speakers. And to my knowledge, I know there are 2 speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions by commissioners? Hearing none. Officially open the public hearing and we'll go right to speakers. King?
Thank you, Chair. Tammy, any registered speakers?
Yes, Executive Officer, we have 2 registered speakers, and they are Gary Arant from Valley Center Municipal Water District and Joe Naper from Valley Center Fire Protection District.
Okay, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Chair Jacob, this is Gary Arant with Valley Center Municipal Water District. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Certainly want to support the staff recommendation with respect to our sphere and also the special study areas. Sorry for the last minute change in the future here, but I guess the consolation is I think it will result in superior service to the Meadowwood project. And so we support the special study areas. Also want to again compliment LAFCO staff on the municipal service review, showing how the support and the effectiveness of the independent special districts serving the Valley Center community. It was great work, great information, and we appreciate the effort and cooperation on the part of the staff. And those are all my comments. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? We have another speaker. Any other speakers?
I think it was Joe Napier.
Yep, I'm here. Commissioners and staff, I really appreciate all of the great work that's been done by staff in pressing forward with this MSR. I want to again remind LAFCO and the commissioners of the great work that the Valley Center Fire Protection District is doing in its sphere of 85 square miles, the customer service that we're providing, and the collaboration with County Fire Authority and our tribal partners is uniquely amazing. At the end of the day, this municipal service review, I believe, for everyone is spot on. And I don't see any other reason as we continue to move forward for another municipal service review to occur or change in sphere of influence over the next 5-year period. That being said, in the last few comments that had gone through in writing, we just want to make sure that the Valley Center Fire Protection District understands its responsibility to grow responsible as the community grows responsibly. We've secured or in an escrow and a piece of property for a third fire station. We're going to continue again to grow responsibly with the community, continue to foster partnerships and training, prevention and operations in the North region. And again, we appreciate LAFCO's efforts in helping us recognize formally in the municipal services review where we are. I would say as a good indicator of a progress report, just as in item 6B, the County Fire Authority has grown and come to the position that it has through all those cooperative efforts. I think the Valley Center Fire Protection District has done the same. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration, and specifically to Linda, thank you for your open dialogue with me throughout this process. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other speakers or comments that have been submitted online that need to be read into the record?
Thank you, Chair. Let me check in with Erica.
All right, thank you, Executive Officer. No live email comments were received for item 6C.
Okay.
Hey, Diane, this is Commissioner Wills. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the recommendation on the MSR.
Okay, there's a motion.
Commissioner Vanderlaan, second.
There's a second. Discussion on the motion.
I did have a comment, Commissioner Desmond. When I first looked at the map here, I thought it was counterintuitive that we're creating an island when I think the long-term goal, hopefully of LAFCO, is to not have so many islands. But I agree with this one because of the topographical area and everything else, and where these residents are going to be best served. So I'll be supporting the motion. It's just my eyebrow raised when I saw a new island. But thank you very much.
Are there any other comments on the motion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Vanderland,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacob,
Yes.
Commissioner Kersey,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Aye.
Commissioner Willis,
Aye.
Commissioner Salas,
Aye.
Commissioner Wells,
Yes.
Commissioner Desmond,
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you. Move on to item 6B, 6D. Keen? Staff
Thank you.
report?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So 60 is the opportunity for the commission to finalize a game plan for the upcoming fiscal year. So before you, you have a proposed final version of your work plan, and then separately a final version of our operating budget. Commission, you will recall that we brought both of these items to you in draft form back in March, received some feedback from the members, and then we went about public review and comment period. That included making presentations at both your city's advisory committee, which comprises mostly of the city managers, and then separately the special districts advisory committee. And so we return with some revisions, although those revisions, Chair and Commission, are not born from any specific comments from the cities, districts, or even the county, but from your own staff's thinking. And certainly the last 45 days have changed some things for us. So the revisions to the work plan involve expanding what we brought you in March with 20 projects. All 20 projects are still in there, but we've added 6 more. 5 are projects that we thought we were going to get done this fiscal year, but we were slowed down. And so our recommendation is just simply to carry those forward into the new fiscal year, and they're outlined in the staff report. And then separately, we did add 1 brand new project that we hadn't thought about before, and that is to permanently put in the bones and structures so we can live stream our meetings and be physically distant as needed going forward for members of the public. So that's the work plan, and you can look at the specifics of the work plan as attachment 1, Exhibit A, and you'll see the work plan in the priority listing there. And then Exhibit B is the final budget. What has changed, Commission, in the final budget is we're no longer proposing an increase. Okay, so in March, we came to you and suggested adding 2% to our bottom line. For the sake of just holding serve, we've eliminated that. The agenda report details how we got there, but the key component is we're going to keep our costs, and in particular our funding contributions to the county, to the cities, and the independent districts the same. It also, importantly, Commission, leaves your otherwise pretty healthy fund balance of 1.4 million, right? And our operating budget's 1.9 million. So we have a very good fund balance through your management over the years. It leaves that for the Commission to perhaps apply it more aggressively in the upcoming years, 21, 22, and so on, should the COVID impacts prove necessary. So I think we're preserving options going forward. That said, it's a public hearing. Be happy to go into more details. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there questions of commissioners before opening a public hearing?
I guess, what is the action we're being asked to for, Keen?
So 2 specific actions, well, actually 1 action with 2 outcomes. We're asking that you adopt the draft resolution in your packet that would separately approve the proposed work plan as proposed and the final budget as proposed.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that wish to address the commission?
Tammy, any registered speakers?
No registered speakers, Executive Officer.
Any
Got it.
Thank you, Chair. There was no live email comments received for item 6D.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Commissioner Wilson, go ahead, sorry.
Desmond, I'll move to approve.
I'll second, Commissioner Willis.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to approve the staff recommendation, item 6D. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Desmond,
Yes.
Commissioner Wells,
Yes.
Commissioner Salas,
Yes.
Commissioner Willis,
Aye.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Kersey,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacob,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderlin,
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes for item 6B.
Thank you. We'll move on to Executive Officer Report. Keen?
Thank you, Chair. So just two quick items. First, I want to note that your Chief Policy Analyst, Robert Berry, has been working with some other local agencies, Resource Conservation District of San Diego, County of San Diego, and SANDAG, on participating in a grant through the Department of Conservation to kind of join forces in tracking and enhancing agricultural activities. Getting involved in grants is certainly outside of our normal operation. However, the state legislature last year decided to add LAFCOs as an eligible entity. So we are cautiously exploring it, and I think we're going to provide some further details at the next meeting. But I just wanted to give the commission a heads up on a kind of a new activity for LAFCO in accessing funds from the state and making good use of it. And then last but not least, we just got done with our our CSA 135 MSR, and John Traylor did a great job helping us with that. John had been a fire chief in the city of Coronado before joining LAFCO for the last 10, 15 years. John's now retired, living up in Reno, so there was a need to find someone else. Luckily, a familiar face to the commission, Ed Sprague, happens to be available, and so barring any last minute hiccups between Holly drafting up an agreement and Ed signing, I think we'll have a new fire consultant on board shortly, and I think it'll be a great resource, having been a commissioner himself, as well as a full-time career firefighter. So I just wanted to apprise the commission.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Any commissioners have anything they'd like to announce?
Would like to discuss one item. Tammy received this email from Leslie Crouch, and there was the one thing that leapt out, one of the couple things that leapt out at me. One of them was the response time for Julian. So I would like to have some kind of item in the future to see how the response time is doing overall in Julian with the CAL FIRE.
Okay. I think we can refer that to Keen to talk to the chief and come back with a report on the Julian response times and perhaps the response to the issues raised in that particular letter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments by
Yeah,
commissioner?
Madam Chair, this is Joe McKenzie. I just have a couple comments regarding the Cal LAFCO Board of Directors meeting last Friday, in that the annual conference, the last week of October, it is still on. They're still planning for it, but depending on where we're at that point in life, will determine whether or not there's actually going to be a conference. But they can't cancel the conference now on the assumption that they're not going to be allowed to have it, because they'll lose all of their deposit and everything. So there's going to have to be an order from the governor for the continuance of non-conferences. So they're playing it by ear, but they're moving forward as though there's going to be one the last week of October, and it's been cut from 3 days down to 2 days. The 2020 staff workshop, they were able to get that carried over with the same venue to 2021 without losing any monies. The deadlines for bills to be heard and in and out of committees, those are still valid. As far as we know, as of Friday, they're not. The legislature is not changing any of the dates or deadlines for legislatures. As you know, the Assembly is back in business today. the Senate will be back theoretically in business on Monday. And as of Friday, they don't know how they're going to be conducting business because of the, 6-foot social distancing. There's a lot of thought process going on as to how they're going to handle it. The one thing we do think is firm is that each committee is only going to be allowed one hearing, and that hearing is probably going to be held in the auditorium so that it will accommodate those who want to be there, and lobbyists and public, the social distancing. And then there's a question between the two, Assembly and the Senate, as to whether, in fact, the committee members have to be present, they have to be cast their vote in person, or whether they can do it over, electronically over the phone. They're both reading the same section of the Constitution, and they each have their own interpretation of yes, we can, and the other is no, they can't. So as to exactly how the legislature is going to run their business for the rest of the year is still they're playing it by ear. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any other commissioners?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Vanderlaan, good job today of herding all of the sheep through this new virtual process here. It was well done. Keen, kudos also to you and your staff, especially Dew, with pulling all this together, and even the glitches we had got ironed out rather quickly. So great job overall. Thank you.
So
Thank you, Andy.
how do we move forward for June 1st? The same scenario?
We're going to have to talk about that. We'll talk about it with the chair and figure out where the governor and the county are on their orders.
So if we did have an actual meeting, I guess we'd be all masked. Huh?
Just so everybody knows, because there seems to be a bit of confusion. So the county has to go by the governor's orders. We can be more restrictive, but not less restrictive. So in the end, the answer to your question, Barry, is we don't know.
Okay.
Stand by, but now that we know how
Stand by. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stand by. Any other comments by commissioners or requests for agenda items for next meeting? Hearing none, do we need a closed session today?
No.
Okay. With that, I'd like to add my thanks, Keen, and to your staff for setting this up, and also to all the great work that you're doing, and thanks to the commissioners, and just everybody be safe out there. So this meeting now is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Dew.